Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Atheist Apostate. I'm the AA. And we are here with another rebuttal video. Yes, we are here with some more rebuttals. Alright, join fixed. Yeah, so today I did not plan on doing this video. I am working on a CS letters video, and I had a gentleman here, Sean S., who follows Saints Unscripted, and he happened to, I'm assuming he happened to see one of my comments on their channel, because, yeah, these guys, in my opinion, these guys are clowns. So they think they're coy, they think they're smart, they think they are knowledgeable, and they don't know anything. So, and if they do, they are no better than fair, whitewashing it or omitting it. So, yes, I am calling you guys out. So, Sean, suggested I check out their CS letters video, and I thought, how ironic, because I am working on a CS or CES video. I wasn't going to be doing any counters. I was just going to play a 9-minute video clip that CS letters has up on their website that you can get on YouTube. And I was going to play that because it's just all church leaders admitting to the issues of whitewashing and ignoring church history and losing members over it. So Sean brought up Unscripted's Saints Unscripted CS letter, so I'm like, oh, I got to do this as a merger. I've got to do this as a merger video. So yeah, guys, I was planning on keeping the CS letters one short for me. But adding in Saints Unscripted, we're probably going to be looking at another hour and a half video now. I'm sorry, get used to these longer videos with me. The chances are that's how it's going to roll. Alright. With that said, oh, that's just the angle. With that said, I was watching this morning, just killing a few minutes, and I came across the FLDS Church versus LDS Church video. Yes, I have. The LDS Church versus LDS Church. What's the differences between them? So I thought it interesting because, Warren Jeff and that, the whole problem down with the compound and his cult and his legal troubles. I thought, oh, interesting. Let's see what these guys have to say. So starting out, talking and joking around, which I don't mind. That's, they give some good dialogue for their viewers. So kudos to that. They start getting into the differences that FLDS believes in plural marriage and the LDS don't. And that they practice it. And I was like, ooh, this is an interesting one, because this was coming up in one of my True Mormon history videos. So this was going to be coming down the road in a few months when I got to the 1880s or 1890s in Utah part. I was going to get to this, but hey, let's get to some of this right now. And keep it short. Let's talk polygamy and hear what their claims are, and let's correct these young bucks. Let's correct these young bucks on the reality. Because I told them I'm going to correct them, So actually, hold on. Let's fade back on over. So I'm not sure if you guys can see my comment here. Let's see if I can... let's click on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go 4 up. And, 4 up and scroll down. Where did my comments go? The comment section's disappeared. 1, 2, 2. Okay, let's go 2. Okay, kiddies, I shall do a rebuttal video to this and explain the history of the 1890s and how polygamy was actually done away with. I'm going to explain to you all. If you're a member of the church and you're seeing this link on their website for this video, let me explain the true history that the church does not deny. Again, the church does not deny this. They're not as transparent as they could be. They are transparent, but they whitewash it. But when I show you from BYU's own website, so you will see what I'm talking about. So, let's go back. Let me explain the history of the 1890s and how polygamy was actually done away with and why the FLDS split. It's common historical knowledge if you're willing to look at the history books and look at the situation objectively before, instead of proving a point. So let's get back down here because I don't need that big. So you guys are claiming there's not much on here. You're giving your LDS current view you guys were raised with. The current view you guys were raised with. So before I rebuttal you, let's hear what these young bucks, foolish young bucks, have to say.
A splinter group that they, a long time ago, left the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Not a long time ago. It's just been over 100 years ago now. It was less than 100 years into the church's history. They left in the 1890s. The FLDS left in the 1890s. The church did not officially start till the 1830s, so just in a 60-year period. The church has been around a hell of a lot longer than that. So yes, it seems like a long time, but it wasn't that long of a time.
And created the fundamental, right?
Yes.
Fundamentalist.
Fundamentalist
Latter-day Saints.
Right.
And the whole thing there is.
And that is the Warren Jeff group that you guys all probably have heard of, and there is not much known on them for the secular world. They are very secretive. These guys do not lie in a moment.
That when Wilford Woodruff was like, we're not doing polygamy, this is not the time, we are done.
Whoa, and this is what I wanted to come up to. Good old Woody. So Wilford Woodruff. So yeah, guys, investigators, members of the church, before I even get started, let's make this clear. I am not against you members. I'm not. Honestly, I'm not. I'm here for transparency. And you're going to see that I'm here for transparency. These rebuttal videos are me against church organizations, not the members, and against people like these guys right down here in the corner. So I am against these guys right here who come out and give disinformation. They whitewash information, they give disinformation, they do not give true information. I am here to rebuttal these guys, and I don't do it nicely. Honestly, I don't do it nicely because they know what they are doing. And if they don't, if you guys honestly don't know what you're doing, then you need to stop right now. You need to start being objective on what you're putting out there and present both sides, not just your testimony. Not your testimony and what you were raised to believe. Get both sides. So, because I'm about to give you guys a little bit of a spanking and show you that you guys are incorrect and your church agrees with me.
Then there was a group of people who said,
okay, let's go back here on the polygamy issue without pausing.
We're not doing polygamy.
Okay, let's go here.
The whole thing there is that when Wilford Woodruff was like, we're not doing polygamy, this is not the time, we are done. Then there was a group of people who said, we're not done, we like polygamy, and we think you're wrong.
Yeah.
And then
we like polygamy. We like it. Oh, we're sex addicts. We want to keep on getting hunky-dory and pop, slap her butt and make the wave ride. So that's how they're portraying this. Oh, they're sex addicts. Oh, they must love sex. We love it. We love polygamy. We're not doing away with it. That's not what it was. That is not what it was. The church. Let's go historical here. The church practiced polygamy. Joseph Smith had at least 52 wives we know of. Brigham Young, Wilford Woodruff, what's his name? That was John Taylor. Was it John? Anyways, Taylor. All of those prophets. So prophets, all those presidents of the church, the quorums of the 12 apostles were all polygamists. Mitt Romney, your LDS hero for you LDS members, he comes from a pioneer family. His family were members that had to flee to Mexico to avoid persecution from the U.S. government. I say persecution because that's what they claim it was. They ran to Mexico to avoid the law because there was anti-polygamy laws established soon after the Saints went out into Utah. When they first got to Utah, it was the Deseret Territory. They called it the Deseret Territory. So let's pop this down here. Where's my other screen? Utah Statehood. So Utah Statehood. Let's scroll. All right, guys. Just to show you that I'm not lying, I'm not joking here. The anti-polygamy laws, which had Mitt Romney's family and many other saints flee to Utah, not out of persecution, but because they were lawbreakers and avoid being arrested for breaking the law. Sorry, my alarm. After the U.S. Supreme Court ruled decisively against plural marriage in 1879, see Reynolds versus United States, federal officials began to enforce laws more firmly during what became known as the anti-polygamy raid. See anti-polygamy legislation. Guys, I'm not sure if you can see it right up in here, so I'm not sure if you can see the URL. So this is eom.byu.edu. I will put the link in the description. I will have the link in the description down below. This is the University of Brigham Young University. This is the university owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that teaches Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints theology. This is their website, not a secondary outside source. This isn't an outside source. This is not an independent source. This is a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints source. True or false? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints owns Brigham Young University. True or false? The BYU institution follows church standards. Part of their standards is the church standards. This is church history. This is church admitting to it. This is the church saying, after plural, or let's go back here. After the U.S. Supreme Court ruled decisively against plural marriage in 1879, federal officials began to enforce the laws more firmly. So let's go here. Look at that. Federal officials began to enforce the law more firmly. Mitt Romney's family and other saints who ran down to Mexico and the native territories, so were running from the United States law because they were breaking the plural marriage laws. Even the church admits it in their BYU lectures. So they even admit it during what became known as the anti-polygamy raids. The Edmunds-Tucker Act of 1887. So, the Edmunds-Tucker Act of 1887 said that if you were a polygamist, you did not have the right to vote because you were breaking the U.S. law. So, breaking the U.S. law. And I have a sneeze that wants to come up. So, in this law, intended to bar polygamists from voting, was still pending Congress when LDS agents secured approval from President Cleveland Grover's administration and from the president of the church, John Taylor. John Taylor the third, I was right on the John, it was throwing me off. Taylor was the third president of the church. It was Smith, BYU, or Brigham Young. BYU is Brigham Young University, named after the second prophet and president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for them. John Taylor was their third president. So, third president. Seeking statehood by accepting a Utah constitution prohibiting plural marriage. Do you get that? John Taylor working with Cleveland Grover's administration to get rid of polygamy. This started before Woodruff even was the president of the church, the fourth president. So this started before him. So he was the one that enacted it. President Taylor's belief in plural marriage remained unaltered, but he recognized that the elected state officials would likely enforce marriage laws more leniently than appointed federal officials had done. Did you see that? Taylor believed if they could get into statehood, then they can softly reinstate polygamy back in because it would be a predominantly Mormon government, official legal government, a state government, but it would be ran by Mormons. So if they could, put polygamy to the side for a short time and abide by the U.S. Constitution, then they can get statehood. So, because they had applied for statehood on many, many times, and is it in this article right here? So, but give me a second there, ladies and gentlemen. This is also BYU's another one of their. So, okay, so this goes into all the history of it. Okay, somewhere's on here, and I can't quite remember where I read it. It actually gives the all the years that they tried to apply for statehood and got rejected. So in this article, or the other page I was on, which is BYU's page, it's just a link. If you go up here and you click on see political history, so let's cut over. If you see political history and you click on it, it takes you to this page right here. And this is BYU's website. I am on BYU's website. So, sorry guys, I hate to tell you. So, who are members, and I hate to tell you, Saints Unscripted, I'm spanking your bums right now with BYU's own website. So, okay, we will go back up to here. Oh, actually, here it is right here, sorry. In 1850, 56, 62, 67, 72, and 82. So those are the years that the church tried to apply for statehood and got rejected every single time. I'm going to do a video on this. I'm going to do a long video on this. So for the church, and we'll get into the nitty gritty. So stay tuned down the road for this, not too far down the road. So I might actually even do a special video on this one here on the polygamy issue. So, because it caused wars. The U.S. had to send out the cavalry on several times during these periods that I have highlighted. These periods I have highlighted, they had several times the U.S. Cavalry had to fight against the Mormons and the Mormon militia. So, and why did they get blocked from Union? Why were they refused to become a state? Because a state, so long as the church upheld polygamy, they could never be a state. Where is it? Could never become a state so long as the church upheld polygamy. Latter-day Saints persisted in the practice. Latter-day Saints continued insisting on the practice. Wilford Woodruff gave the, I believe it was 1880, we'll see it here in a second, I believe it was 1890, not 1880. 1890, you guys got the proclamation ending polygamy. That's when it came. The U.S. government would still not give Utah statehood. They still did not give Utah statehood because the members refused to stop practicing. It was not till 1896, 6 years later after the proclamation to end polygamy by the church, that the U.S. government finally said, because now the church was trying to prove that they were stopping polygamy by excommunicating people that were open polygamists. They were now having to excommunicate them. So people like Mitt Romney's family took off to Utah. Those who didn't get excommunicated ran off from Utah to Mexico. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware, who are members and investigators, Utah, when the Saints went out to Utah, was not part of the United States property. It was not part of the United States territory. Brigham Young brought the Saints into Utah, which was part of Mexico at the time. Utah was part of Nevada, part of Wyoming, part of New Mexico, as well as the Utah territory. It was much larger than what you guys know now as a state, as a territory. It belonged to Mexico. The Saints were able to go to Salt Lake because they were able to avoid anti-polygamy laws. Those laws had already popped up in the United States by the time Brigham Young was a leader of the church and moving the Saints across west. They settled in Utah because it was part of Mexico, not the U.S. territories, and it wasn't a state. So it was a place they could go and practice polygamy without being persecuted. So I should say prosecuted by the U.S. government in that area. Shortly later in the Mexican-American War, check this out, shortly later in the Mexican-American War, was it 1845, 46-ish? Utah was won along with California and Texas and became part of the United States territories. So Utah, or Deseret at the time, Deseret, so by the Mormon account, was a part of the U.S. territories. So the U.S. called it Utah after the Ute native tribe, ancient Ute tribe. So that's where Utah comes from. The States didn't call it Utah, they called it Deseret. So when this government started coming into the territory, and I have to go through here because this leads up to this. This is part of this, and I won't get too much into it. But when the U.S. government was coming in and started trying to put down the Mormons for breaking the law on polygamy, so a lot of those members took off into Mexico. When the church changed its stance on polygamy in 1890, those saints who didn't leave the church, who became the FLDS, a lot of that's where the FLDS came from, was that proclamation, and it says right here, so that the saints would not stop practicing it. So I'm not saying it. BYU, the church's university, saying it too. Latter-day Saints persisted in the practice, which for another generation blocked Utah's admission as a state. So do you see that? I have it underlined. So from BYU's own website, this is where your FLDS came from. Because not only they, but a lot of other members did not accept it because it was preached by Smith. It was preached by Brigham Young. Right here in this article, it said it was preached by John Taylor. That he believed in it, even though he was trying to change it, he still believed in the practice. And LDS members, be truthful. Be truthful here. True or false? You believe in the latter days, in the end days, polygamy will be reinstated for those members who want to practice it. So, true or false? It is true. For you guys who are not members or investigating, so it is true. So that's what they believe. Polygamy will be reinstated. And John Taylor. So, president of the church. John Taylor was for a strategy of seeking statehood by accepting Utah Constitution prohibiting plural marriage. President Taylor's belief in plural marriage believed unaltered. He believed unaltered in the practice of plural marriage, and that is why the FLDS church left and splintered off, because the church stopped something to become a state. They started something to become a state. They went secular, and that is why the FDLS claims in this video. So by these young bucks right here on Saints Unscripted are as they were made. Let's hear more.
They created their own religion, but decided to pretty much throw out most of the things that the church does that we do, but keep the Book of Mormon.
Right. So like at the time, like they considered Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, and John Taylor to be prophets.
Right, real
and
prophets,
then
yeah.
Did you hear that? They accepted Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, and John Taylor as prophets, the FLDS. Why? Why? Because Smith was the first to start plural marriage. It was a commandment by him behind Emma's back for several years before she discovered it and was very unhappy about it. Brigham Young continued the practice of plural marriage in the church. After Brigham Young, John Taylor continued to practice and teach. We saw it on BYU's own website. He did not stop believing in it, even though he started the change on plural marriage in the church. So FLDS, you should be going after John Taylor. These young bucks are correct on this part.
Wilford Woodruff was a fallen prophet, and everyone else after that was a fallen prophet.
They should also call John Taylor in there, because John Taylor was trying to appease the U.S. government and going against God's commandments on plural marriage so they can get statehood. Because Utah was on the verge of, Utah was on the verge of losing control. They had someone ready, the U.S. government had someone ready who was non-LDS to go over and be the governor of Utah. And the church was terrified and did not want to lose control of Utah. That's why Taylor started the processes and Woodruff finished the processes so they could keep Utah, so they could be in control of Utah. So the church does not deny it. Does not deny it one bit. So does not deny it. Go and see the politics right here. Go read this article. So this all talks about it. The church does not hide it. So what the Saints Unscripted is saying is whitewashing. They are whitewashing their side of the story and trying to be as accurate as they can on the FLDS. They're trying to. So if you guys on Saints Unscripted don't know this, stop teaching this stuff to people. Stop presenting this stuff to people as if you know it, as if you've done your research. You might have done your research on the other side, but you did not do the research on your own side. So your own church admits to this. This isn't something that the atheist apostate's trying to say. This isn't someone that anti-Mormonism is trying to say. And I say anti-Mormonism. This is transparency by your own church. Sure, a little whitewashed, but they're pretty freaking transparent on why they changed the things. And what the FLDS got wrong, because they're so disassociated from their past, so on their split of in the 1890s, is they don't even remember that John Taylor was the person who started the ball rolling to change the views, the teachings on polygamy, and to ban it. It started with Taylor. It was only Woodruff who finalized it and received revelation. And it was a revelation. Members of the church, true or false, it was a revelation and proclamation. So in BYU's website, they say it was him personally, a decision, not revelation. They whitewashed it. True or false, members of the church, it was a revelation and proclamation from God to Wilford Woodruff. That's what you were taught. It's true for you investigators. So for you non-members, it's true. I was a member. I grew up in the church and taught this doctrine myself.
Disclaimer, real quick, is that we don't, like, we've researched, but there's just not, the church in and of itself, and there are a lot of splinter groups off of that church.
Yeah.
And we will get into that someday in another rebuttal, but that's not a point. Yes, there's not much on the FLDS church, but they did not do any research on their own church. So they did not do any research on their own, and I am not going to go on any more on this. We are done. We are finished. These guys just got whooped. Learn your history of your church. Go to your own church resources. BYU.education.ed has this. This is from your own church's educational system. This is what you teach in your guys' university. This isn't the AA saying this. So I am going to, in a future video under my True Mormon History, be covering this in great length. I will be covering the U.S. Cavalry going into the territory on several occasions and how the LDS Church fought against them. So yes, they fought against them. They put up a war against the U.S. government on several occasions. I'm going to go into the changing doctrines at the time and what caused several groups to splinter off because of the changing doctrines. That's not for this video. For this video here, they are trying to claim that the church received revelation in 1890, so to disband polygamy, and that the FLDS church loved sex so much, loved polygamy so much, they refused to disband and splintered off from the church, and that's one of the differences. That's not correct, guys. That's not correct. 1890, Wilford Woodruff finalized John Taylor's motion to disband polygamy. The church taught that would later be reinstated in the end times. That was just for now, put on hold, and the saints weren't to practice any longer. So it happened for 6 more years before the saints would stop. Not just the FLDS splinter group, the saints. The church says it. They don't say splinter groups. They say the members refused to stop for a 6-year period. They don't say how long. They say a decade. It wasn't a decade. Or generation. It was 6 years, from 1890 when the church proclamation came out on it to 1896 when Utah finally received its statehood. The church admits these saints refused to stop practicing polygamy. We know from Mitt Romney's own family history that his family ran down to Mexico to avoid persecution. No, they ran to Mexico to avoid prosecution with dozens and dozens and dozens of other LDS, active LDS families who are still generational Mormons to this day, not FLDS or splinter groups, still active Mormons that come from those families that ran to Mexico to hide, so till it was safe. And then you also got splinter groups like the FLDS who said this was horse crap, Woodruff is wrong, they don't even put the blame on Taylor, and the church perverted and we are leaving. That is the true history. So Saints Unscripted, go back, learn the history, go into history books. So go back into your own history books, go to your own religious websites. So go to your own educational websites like BYU and learn what you're teaching before you teach it. Please, honestly, please. Because stuff like this is what pisses me off and why I'm going after you guys now. Yes, I'm going after you. Because I've seen too many videos like this where you whitewash and you give false information. So whitewash and false information. The own church disagrees with you. Your own church history on BYU disagrees with you. Not the AA, BYU. So guys, I'm sorry to say it. If you're a follower of Saint Unscripted, you like the guy, you like those guys, I'm sorry to say it is not the channel you think it is. It's not. Until then, this was the Atheist Apostate. Hope you guys have a great day. Keep it real.
I think that's great. I think that whitewashing history is not ideal. Holding up some of the past individuals, placing them on the pedestals is not ideal.